2024 and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes now behind us, all eyes are now on 2025 and beyond. And with it, hopefully, the beginning stages of what will become the next Planet of the Apes movie. So far, we don't know too much, but I'm here to break down what we do, as well as speculate on the timeline of when we can expect production of the new film to start taking shape for its tentative 2027 release date. If you like what I do here and want to show your support, be sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things apes. Enjoy the video. And welcome to Ape Nation, your #1 source for all things Planet of the Apes on YouTube. My name is Josh, and I hope that you all had a great holiday season and are having a great new year so far. As I said up top at the beginning of this video, 2024 is now in our rear view mirror, and so now it's time to start looking ahead as we enter 2025, and with 2025 we'll, at least potentially, see the start of production on the sequel to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself there, so first let's take a look at everything we know about said sequel. So when it comes to what we actually know as far as the status of this film and when it's going to come out, the next film is officially in development, as Wes Ball, the director of Kingdom, has stated in numerous interviews, including one with me just this past summer, that work is now being done, that the story is being worked on right now.
Through this, we really kind of need to figure out the beginning, the middle, and the end here coming up in this trilogy. And I think once we all feel comfortable with that, then we'll start that process of, okay, when do we shoot it? How do we shoot it? Where do we shoot it? All that kind of stuff, so
Gotcha.
Yeah, right now it's purely, that was a fun ride. Now let's kind of think about, really, we had ideas on where we wanted to go. Let's really kind of dig in and give ourselves, something really sturdy to stand on, moving forward,
The film is for sure in the works and being planned to be put into production at some point in the near future. The next thing we know is that Wes Ball wants to be involved, whether that's as the director, which, as I've stated multiple times on this channel, I do not believe is going to be the case, mainly just due to the fact that he is going to be directing the Legend of Zelda movie, which, as far as I know, is going to begin production this year, so he's not going to have time to work on that while also developing and then jumping right into directing a sequel to Kingdom that will then be ready to come out in theaters by 2027. I just do not see a world where that's possible. I'd like to be wrong, but I just don't see that being the case. But he does want to be involved. He's expressed interest in wanting to continue this story and continue to build out this world that he picked up the baton from Matt Reeves and put his own stamp on. So he's made it very clear in multiple interviews, both before and after the film has come out, that he wants to be a part of whatever the next films in the franchise end up being.
I do love these characters. I love the actors and I love the people involved with these movies. So, I'd love to be involved with it. What that means, I don't know. We'll have to see how it all shakes out. But, fingers crossed.
And then as far as the release date, we know right from 20th Century Studios president Steve Asbell, who not too long ago revealed that the film is being planned for a 2027 release date. So from what we know so far, the film is in development, Wes Ball wants to be involved, and 2027 is being targeted right now as the release date for the film. And then as far as the story goes, what we know about what the next film is or could potentially be about, we have some clues that are really just based off of what we got towards the end of the first movie and things that were set up in the first movie, but we don't have any hard evidence, we don't have any hard concrete information just yet. So these are the 4 things that I think we can expect to see from the story in the next film, and they are all purely just speculation based on where Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes left off. So the first thing to note is at the end of Kingdom, Noah seemingly became leader of the Eagle clan. His father's gone and now Noah's going to take up that responsibility. I could be wrong, maybe Dar takes his place, maybe someone else takes his place, but it seems that that is kind of the position that Noah is left in at the end of Kingdom. And I think in the sequel, that could pave way for more apes from his village to be involved in the story this time, possibly Dar, his mother, or likely even a few newly introduced apes, maybe some characters that were in the background of Kingdom in his village that get more of a character this time. And also something that could be really interesting is seeing some of the apes that were with Proximus that then joined Noah and his clan Clan at the end. I think seeing some of those characters and exploring what they were going through and exploring how they now interact with Noah and the Eagle Clan could be really interesting. So I think Noah being the leader of the Eagle Clan would lend to some of that stuff taking place in the sequel. And I also think it would give Noah more responsibility and lend to a more mature story about the challenges of leadership and sacrifices that need to be made and things like that. So I think the first thing to note about the storytelling possibilities of where we might go in the sequel to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes starts with Noah now being leader of the Eagle Clan. Next, I think something that was much more of a talking point when the film came out, and that is the ending of the film revealing the intelligent humans still being around and them, along with May's help, clearly planning something in which they will be able to bring the human world as they knew it back. This is going to be one of the biggest parts of the story. How is it going to play out? I'm not sure, but I think there's a couple elements of it that make for at least some interesting discussion here. And I think the first is something that I think a lot of people are afraid of and worried about, myself included. This could risk feeling too familiar to Dawn and War, and could very much feel like it's rehashing the human-ape war that we've already seen. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. I'd like to believe that Wes Ball and Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver and Josh Friedman are more clever than that, and they aren't going to just go back to something we've seen already unless it has a new angle and an aspect of it that's going to surprise us. But you never know, it could lead to disappointment. But on the other hand, it could also be something fresh and unexpected depending on what the humans are doing, how their interactions with the apes go, and how evolved or intelligent they actually end up being. We only got to see a very small snippet of these humans, hearing them interact, seeing how they operate, seeing what their world looks like, and it's just a small pocket of humans. We've now discovered at the end of the film there are clearly other pockets of humans out there that are still alive. How advanced are they? How intelligent are they? What have they been up to all this time? So there's a lot of unexpected elements that I think could go along with this storyline that was introduced at the end of Kingdom. Now, inevitably, I think this is going to lead to some kind of battle. What the context of that battle is, where it falls in the story, or even if it happens in this specific movie or if they save it for a third film, that we don't know yet. But I think it's clearly inevitable that this storyline is going to lead to some sort of clash between humans and apes. I just hope that they can find a way to make it interesting and keep it fresh. And then the next element of the story that we could be getting in the sequel that we have a bit of an idea of is the relationship between Noah and Suna. So in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Noah and Suna having romantic feelings for each other is very clearly teased throughout the movie. There's a specific scene where May straight up calls out Noah and saying that he likes her.
You like her? Suna?
We were born within sunset.
By the end of the movie, the two are riding off together to look at the telescope, and while it doesn't necessarily mean they're a couple, them being isolated as a pair as opposed to being there with Anaya and having the whole trio there like they were the whole movie, I think that in a way hints at them becoming a couple, if not already now being a couple by the end of the film. Now, introducing a romantic element between two apes isn't new. Obviously, you have Cornelius and Zira, who are the most iconic couple in the entire Planet of the Apes franchise, but I think giving it more of a young adult angle would be different and very heartfelt depending on how it's handled and how big of a role it plays in the story. I know some people might cringe just hearing that sentence and not wanting the young adult genre or label anywhere near Planet of the Apes, but I think when you look at Kingdom, it's already set up in a way where it kind of lends itself to a young adult coming of age story, and so I think it would fit here. And I think as long as it's not overdone, I think as long as they find a way to make it compelling, I'm not going to have an issue with this at all. I think it's something that would be new, it would be refreshing, and I think it would fit with who these characters are and what we know of them up to this point. And I think something that's interesting is that them bringing this into the fold could actually test the friendship of the trio with Anaya, possibly feeling boxed out by his two friends becoming more of a couple. And this is something that actually Travis Jeffrey thought could be possible when I interviewed him just this past summer.
I would love to see more of the trio and see those relationships develop further. And, there's always room for conflict. Like, what is Suna and Anaya's and Noah's relationships become? What does the relationship between Suna and Noah become? And then how does that affect Anaya? The teens growing up, when love gets involved, how does that shift and shape relationships? is it for the better or is it for the worse?
So Noah and Suna becoming more of a couple is another thing that we potentially know about the story that we're going to get in the next Planet of the Apes movie. And then finally, and I think this is probably the most obvious story point that will be playing a role in the sequel that we can almost guarantee based off of Kingdom we will see more of, and that is Noah and May's relationship. At the end of the film, these two are very clearly set up to have another story together. It's just unclear whether that is going to be a story about them being allies or a story about them being enemies. And I think there's potential for it to be both. Noah and May's final interaction at the end of Kingdom has both of them wondering if Caesar was right or not regarding apes and humans being able to live in peace. But that question is left without an answer, and I think this film could answer that question once and for all now that the planet belongs to the apes.
Can ape and human live together?
There's so many possible directions that these two characters could go regarding their relationship. I could see them becoming stronger allies. I could see them becoming enemies towards the end of the second film, if not at the beginning of the second film. But I could also see them becoming allies before eventually becoming enemies. Or maybe it could go the other way. They could become enemies before ending this story as allies. But I think one of those two is probably the most likely direction of where this story is going to go. But both characters have a lot of room for growth and a lot of room for exploration, and I think that is what will likely be much of what the next film is focused on. Noah and May are being set up as the heart and soul of this new trilogy. I think that is very evident after watching Kingdom. I think it's very evident just based on the ending scene of Kingdom between the two, and I think it's the thing that most people that were fans of Kingdom are excited to see more of and excited to see explored further, and so that is why it is the fourth and final story element that I think we have a very clear idea about going into the sequel. So to reiterate, the four story elements that I think we know about so far that will most likely, if not definitely, play a role in the sequel are as follows. Noah becoming leader of the Eagle Clan, the intelligent humans planning to bring their human world as they once knew it back, the relationship between Noah and Suna becoming more of a romantic relationship, and finally Noah and May's relationship and what direction it's going to ultimately go in. So as far as just the hard data and also where the story is going to go, that more or less sums up everything we know so far about the sequel to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Now, as far as when we can expect to start hearing announcements, when we think things are going to get moving as far as pre-production and production and casting, release dates, and all that kind of stuff, I want to give you some data here really quick, and then based on that data, just give you what I think is most likely going to be the case over the next 2.5 to 3 years as we wait for the sequel to Kingdom. So what I did was take the production timeline of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and obviously not all films are made the same. The length that it takes to film one movie doesn't mean it's going to take the same to film the sequel, and vice versa. Casting might take longer than one movie on another. The writing process might take longer, it might take shorter. Post-production could take longer, it could take shorter. So there's a ton of variables to take into consideration, but I am just basing this general idea off of how everything rolled out with Kingdom, because a lot of the same team will likely be working on this film. It will likely be made in a similar manner, and so I think it's fair to use that as a template. When you look at Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the casting on that film started roughly about 2 years before the film came out. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes came out on May 10th, 2024, but casting announcements did not start taking place until around August of 2022, which is a little bit under 2 full years. So you have to imagine the casting search has probably started around 2, maybe 3 or 4 months before August. So that puts us into May or June of 2022, which puts us at about 2 years before release. So then filming started about 2 months after the casting announcements were made, which was in October of 2022. And filming took about 5 months from October of 2022 until February of 2023 when filming wrapped. That puts us at 1 year and 3 months before release. So based on all of that information surrounding Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and how that movie came to be, here's roughly how I think things are going to play out over the next 2 to 3 years and when I think we can start expecting to hear things. So the script, I assume, is being worked on right now, either the script or a treatment of some kind, and it will continue to be worked on along with most likely movie number 3 throughout the next few months. Could be 2 months, could be 3 months, I don't know, but it will be at least the next few months. Now, using July as a middle ground estimate for the release date, because we don't actually have a release date set yet, we only have 2027 as a general template, and that could move. It could go as far as 2028, and so we don't know just yet exactly when this movie is going to come out. But going off of the tentative 2027 date that Steve Asbell gave us just a few months ago, and the fact that all of these movies so far have released between May and August, they have never released outside of that window. You had Rise come out in August of 2011, you had Dawn and War come out in July of 2014 and 2017 respectively, and then just this past year you had Kingdom, which came out in May. So that gives us a window of about 4 months when this movie could come out. So splitting the difference, I'm gonna say this movie will probably come out in July. It could end up being June, it could end up being August, for all I know they change it, and it could end up being November. I have no idea, but I'm going with July just as a middle ground estimate. So based on that July estimate, if they plan on getting a new director for the next film, which I do think they will, but I could be wrong, if they do plan on getting a new director, I think you should expect an announcement sometime in spring or early summer. So maybe sometime between March and May is when you could expect to hear about a new director. Again, things could change. I could be wrong. These are all just guesses, but I think between March and May is when you should expect to hear some sort of announcement about Westball coming back to make a new movie or a new director replacing him. Then as for casting new characters, which I think will happen, we're going to get some new characters in the next movie, that will likely start sometime this summer, let's say June or July, with announcements coming later in the year around September, October. And then based on that, I would say filming would likely take place sometime at the end of the year going into next year. My guess is probably December. It could be a little earlier, it could be November, or it could be held off until January or February of 2026. But I think most likely December 2025 until around April 2026 is likely when you're going to see this movie going into production, which then puts it on schedule for a release date sometime between May and August of 2027. Again, I'm taking a guess and putting it in July. So that's when I think we can start to expect to hear things. That's when I expect certain parts of production to start taking place. I am not a production expert. There's tons of variables and factors that I'm probably forgetting about and not including here. There's things that could happen. There are things that could change between now and 2027. You know, I have no idea what's going to happen, but just based on all the information we have, this is what I think things are going to start rolling out for this movie and how I think things are going to take shape as we see this movie get developed and enter production over the next year or so. Assuming all goes well and the production timeline works out similarly, if not exactly like my prediction, you can expect to start hearing news about the next Planet of the Apes movie sometime within the next 3, if not 4 months. I think it could be later. Things could get delayed. That being said, I wouldn't start to be concerned unless we get to like the end of summer, fall, and we still haven't heard anything. I don't think that would happen, but if we do get to that point, that's when I'm going to start to be concerned. But if we get to say June or July and we still haven't heard anything, I'm not going to hit the panic button just yet. But as it stands, I expect to hear something at some point in the next 3 to 4 months. But I want to know what you guys think. When it comes to what we know so far about the story and where it could go, what excites you the most? Is there anything that happened in Kingdom that is setting up the story of the next film that I'm forgetting about? Is there anything that I missed? And as far as my predictions for when this film is going to get into production and when everything's going to happen, do you think my predictions are most likely right, or do you think I'm completely off? I want to know what you guys think, so I want you to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you so much for checking out today's video here on Ape Nation. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things apes. I'll catch you in the next one, so until then, goodbye.